Hello again and welcome to another episode of Job Talks and Dog Walks with me, Phil Stern, and my dog, Mabel, who's disappearing off. So in the last video we looked into the experience section of your CV and some dead quick things that you can do to really enhance it and provide context to the employer before you even get into the detail of what you did. Check back at my other videos to look for that. So here we go. So we're going to be talking about today the content, right Mabel? The content of each job and what you did. Number one, reverse the content of the job description. Number one thing not to do. Do not copy and paste your job description into your CV. This is the biggest no-no that you can do. So do not do it, please. If you're lucky enough to have a job description, you can use it though as a launch pad for the content in your job. If you've really got no clue where to start, use your job spec as a kind of a prompt to help you think about the things that you've done over that time.
So what we're going to do is use the job spec as a basis to work backwards from. So your job spec will no doubt be full of words like establishes, guides, advises, ensures, etc. All very passive statements. To make them more dynamic and interesting, just turn those verbs into past tense. So establishes becomes established, guides become guided. So instead of establishes rapport with employees and motivates them to achieve goals, we now have established rapport with employees and motivated them to achieve goals. This is something that happened, okay? So it's got much more power to it rather than it being a wishy-washy statement.
Add so what? What do I mean by so what? So what was the impact you actually had? Did you grow sales? Or did you implement tools and systems and a framework that enabled the team to grow sales by 40% over 6 months, resulting in a net increase of £3 million? It's just got so much more power to it. 3, use numbers. Number 3 is about being specific. I kind of hinted at this in point 2, but rather than saying we increased sales or that we reduced the time to do something or another, be specific. We saved 6 months and £40,000 in delivering X and Y. Or we gained an order book of £40 million. Or, whatever it is, be specific, put the numbers in there. That could be time, it could be money, it could be number of process steps removed. It could be all sorts of things. Things like how, when, how long, how much, how many, why. If you can get 3 of these into any particular bullet point, it will help you structure something that's meaningful, give you the so what from the previous point, but also help you tie it back to the thing that you were there to do. Try, if you can, to put a number to it, okay? If you can't, then just try and explain it in a qualitative way. That is, use words to describe the benefit if you can't put a number to it. 4, brevity. This is where a lot of my clients struggle, if I'm honest, and this is where I can really help. But for the purposes of this video, I would say do not have a bullet point that's any longer than 3 lines. Oh, you're right. Because then it becomes a paragraph. 3 lines is almost too much. If you're going to do 3 lines, it's because you've just gone on to 3 lines with 4 or 5 additional words from the second line. But then in your editing, I would try to get it down to 2 lines, if not 1 line. We have a short attention span, so you need to get to the point quite quickly. If you've got a big rambly story that you're going to tell the reader, then find a way of cutting it down and cutting to the chase. 5, remember the funnel. What do I mean by that? I mentioned it in the last video, but this is making sure that the most recent jobs occupy more space in the CV than your jobs of yesteryear. So we don't need to know a third of a page about what you were doing in 1995. Okay, that time has passed, and what you're doing now is going to supersede whatever that was in hopefully quite a big way. My advice, try and cut each existing job down by a third, all right, in terms of the footprint that it takes on the page. Be harsh with yourself, try to distill it. Make sure that you're not going into reams of detail about things that nobody needs to read about or that don't add value to what you are doing now. Okay, you can, if you want, you know, if just put earlier career as a title and list the 3 or 4 jobs that you did back in the 90s or earlier, if that's the case. Mabel, this way. Come on. If that's the case, and just simply put the employer, the job title, and the dates that you were there. Okay, provides the foundation for your CV, but without going into tons of detail that nobody needs to read.
So for a quick recap: 1, reverse the job spec content and make sure that each bullet point starts with a verb in the past tense. 2, add some so what to each of your bullet points to give them some pizzazz. Number 3, in doing so, use numbers and be really specific. 4, be brief. And finally 5, remember the funnel shape that we talked about in the previous episode. So that's the second of my 2 videos about nailing your experience section on your CV. Subscribe and follow for more. There's going to be loads more coming.